Welcome to another video, and today I'm gonna talk about movement and positioning. If you want to improve in Valorant, a lot of people will say that you have to improve your aim. And of course this is true, but they underestimate the power of positioning and movement. You can get so much free kills if you get this right, so in this video I'll give you some tips and tricks. So let's start with the basic principle you should understand called peek advantage. It's actually very simple. The further you stand away from the wall while peeking, the less chance the enemy will see you first. Let me explain it with an example. In the background the enemy killjoy cannot see me, but I can see his arm. That's because he's standing close to his wall, but I'm standing far away from my own wall. I made these beautiful drawings to make it more clear. In the first one the enemy can't see me, and in the second one the enemy can see me. Now you know the reason why you sometimes get killed without even seeing the enemy. So now you know about peek advantage, let's talk about the different ways you can peek. The first way you can peek is the jiggle shoot peek. This is one of my favorite. Don't stand close to the wall, walk a little bit back and then strafe to the left, shoot a little bit and then walk back. If you do this a few times you make yourself a hard target and you can get some nice kills. Here's how it looks in game.
Don't come see.
Another way of peeking is the wide swing. This is when you peek and you walk further than you have to. With this way of peeking, it might be useful to stand a little bit close to the wall, even though you don't have peek advantage this way. This is because if you stand close to the enemy, your wide swing will be more effective. The enemy will have to adjust his aim more if you are standing close to the wall. And again, a beautiful drawing to explain it. I hope it makes a little bit of sense. The angle will get bigger if you stand close to the enemy. Then you have the careful peeker. This is the most common. Just peek and check every corner while peeking. And of course, the jump peek for info. It's when you jump and strafe back so you see the enemy and get information on your minimap. It's a nice one to counter the operator and get early info so your teammates can rotate in time. So now that we talked about peeking, let's talk about holding. Luckily, holding is way easier than peeking. You just have to keep a few things in mind when you get in position. Make sure you have as much peek advantage as possible. Make sure you only can get peeked from one angle and make sure you have a way out. Example time, let's go to icebox, my friends. If you want to peek belt, don't stand over here because people from nest can see you and you don't have a way out. Instead, stand over here. Now only people from belt can see you, and if you miss your shot you can easily jump down and get away. Yeah, very easy if you think about it. One of the most common mistakes about holding is re-peeking when the enemy sees you. A bit like this. Here Sova spots me and here I re-peek into his crosshair. Don't be like me, my friends. That was not very smart. The last thing I want to say about holding is holding an off angle. When an enemy is about to push, they are probably pre-aiming all the common spots. This means that in a duel there's a high chance that the peeker already has his crosshair on your head. To counter this you can play some off angles. Here's an example on split. If you want to hold B main you often stand all the way in the back of sight or maybe even in heaven. But instead you could also take an off angle and stand over here. This way there's a high chance that the enemies won't pre-aim you. However, like you see, it's hard to get away if the enemy spots you. This is the reason that agents like Jett, Reyna and Chamber are especially good at holding off angles, because they have an easy escape. Now let's stop with the boring peeking and holding. Let's talk about pushing, my friends. The OG viewers know that I really love to lurk in game. It's just so much fun to outbrain the enemy, time it right and kill the enemies from behind without them seeing you. It's the best way to tilt the enemy. So when you're planning to push or to lurk, you have to keep a few things in mind. One thing that a lot of people don't really get is when to walk or when to sprint. Here an example. In the background you see me walking to get behind the enemy, but suddenly my teammates are saying that everyone is at A side, so no more reason to walk. That's why I started sprinting. Until this moment, because as you saw on the sound barrier, I got close to the enemies. So when you want to push behind the enemy, what you have to keep in mind is knowing when to sprint or when to walk. This way you don't be too late to help your teammates and you can get some nice kills like this Sova. He didn't know anything.
Steeds say to you around my phone.
And after this kill, the enemies knew where I was, so I sprinted back to my team to get safe. Easy peasy round. Another thing you have to keep in mind when lurking is listening to the steps. Often when your whole team is spotted at one side, the enemies on the different side will start rotating and making steps. It's up to you to time it right and peek exactly when you think the enemy is most vulnerable. Here's an example. In this clip I heard someone making steps, and I started peeking when I thought he was in the open.
One more close, but I cannot push here.
Here steps. Wait till they go up. If I peeked a little bit earlier, there was a high chance that she would pre-aim me. But now I caught her off guard, so easy peasy kill. Now that we talked about the lurk and the push, let's talk about teamwork. Yeah, a lot of people don't think it is, but Valorant is actually a team sport. It's not a solo game, my friends. But don't worry, I'm gonna teach you a trick how you can work together with your teammates, while your teammates don't have to do anything and you get a lot of free kills. As most of us know, a crossfire is one of the easiest way to get kills. But if you don't know what a crossfire is when you and your teammate are looking to the same angle. So when the enemy pushes, they have to peek into 2 guys and it's way easier for you to get a kill. So what you can do is just look at the minimap, look where your teammate is standing and base your position on their position. An example is over here on satellite. If your teammate is standing to the right of satellite, then you can stand behind the satellite, wait till the enemy pushes, and when your teammate is shooting on the enemy, you peek with it and kill the enemies easy peasy. It's kinda like baiting, only then in a good way. Now let's talk about map control. Controlling the map is also very important. Sometimes it's nice to push to control a big portion of the map. Let's go back to the same clip of Bind for a nice example. Because I pushed over here and I didn't see anyone, Jet could go for an early rotate. Because of this push, basically the whole right side of Bind was clear. We knew that all the enemies were on A side. And if I died because of the sofa, for example, my teammates would have enough time to rotate back into position. Of course, this is an aggressive way of map control, here a more defensive way. Imagine holding short on ascent and suddenly the enemy spots you. You sadly don't connect your shots, but you manage to get away. Now you can do multiple things. You can, for example, stand over here, but if you stand over here, there's a high chance that the enemy will pre-aim you and kill you. You could also stand over here, for example, but you have to keep in mind that if you stand over here, you give control over garden. This means that your teammates on side will have a harder time holding, because now he needs to pay attention to A long and garden. So long story short, look at the minimap now and then and see what parts of the map you have control of and what parts of the map the enemy can be. Luckily, you can see the field of view of your teammates on the minimap. And the last thing I want to tell you is stay alive. Staying alive is very important, my friends. In my opinion, it's more important to stay alive than to get kills. This is because when you're alive, you give way more pressure to the enemy. Anyway, a very technical video today. I hope you liked it and I see you guys in the next one. Peace.